Hey guys, so I keep trying to talk about 212 and I keep getting distracted because it's actually quite tricky putting this into 10 minutes. But now I'm going to really focus and try to get in 10 minutes as much as I know out. And of course it's a lot longer conversation and much more extensive things can be said, but just the basic picture of it. So here it is, 2012 in 10 minutes. There's going to be huge climate changes because the Earth is a living organism and it's conscious and it's alive. And we're killing it, and it's very hurt at the moment. And so it needs to make some dramatic shifts to realign itself with the natural harmony that allows it to function in such a glorious way that it does. The Earth's going to do this by flipping 3 degrees on its axis. Now Ramtha talks about this a lot, and I really recommend you listen to the CDs Ramtha communicates about this because of days to come. An extraordinary book also called The Waltz of the Tyrants by Ramtha. So the Earth's going to tilt 3 degrees on its axis, and when it does this, both poles are going to melt overnight. And two things are going to happen from the poles melting. Europe is going to freeze over, right down to the Pyrenees Mountains, and hit the new ice ages. So if you're living in Europe, you really need to start waking up and consider your options, hey, and become very much more aware of your situation, because if you're in Europe when this happens, you will not survive. As the ice poles melt, what's going to happen is all that water, all of that fresh water is going to suddenly go into the sea, and it's like putting a ball in a bathtub of water, and it's going to glosh across the whole world. When it does this, it's going to cause huge tsunamis, 200 feet high. So I recommend thoroughly you go and get The Day After Tomorrow, which is a DVD, and Deep Impact, because both of those films represent really quite accurately what we're about to go through. There's no mistake in Hollywood in reference to what they put out, because the Hollywood has an awareness greater than most of the rest of the world. So as the Earth tilts at 3 degrees and all that water goes across the Earth, all the coastal nations around the world, which is the majority where most people live, by the way, are going to be completely underwater. So I'm here in Melbourne, and Melbourne is 20 meters above sea level. So Melbourne's not just going to be flooded, it's actually going to be at the bottom of the ocean. I am actually sitting somewhere that in 4 years' time there's going to be fish all around me. And I'm not exaggerating, and this isn't meant to install fear in you, this is just meant to wake you up to the information of what's going to happen so that you become more aware and get more prepared and have more options. The people who are in fear about any of this stuff is because they're not prepared. It's that simple. As the Earth tilts and the water moves, the plates that all of the different continents exist on are going to shift. When they shift, continents are going to break apart, countries are going to break apart, countries are going to move. When that happens, there's going to be huge earthquake and volcanic activity, which is going to send a lot of poisonous stuff into the air via the volcanoes, and there's going to be a lot of disasters around the world in relationship to people and surviving these climate changes. There's a lot of movement in the sun at the moment. The solar energy around the sun is in stress, and of course because the sun's our major energy force and we're energy beings, we're all being affected by this, whether or not we're aware of it or not. You know, there's been a lot of talk about Planet X, and indeed there is another planet moving into our solar. It's been there for a long time. People have known about it for a long time. We're just starting to get the information seeping out to us, and that as well is affecting the magnetic pull around the Earth. So that's sort of like the climatic positioning of the Earth. What do I recommend about this? You need to get high. You need to go at least 200 feet above sea level. I recommend it 800. You need to prepare yourself. In some places you're going to be needing food supplies and support for 2 years. In other places it'll be 2 weeks. Some places around the world, small little pockets aren't even going to be affected. But depending where you are in the world, most likely you're going to have a lot of crisis and chaos to deal with. So it's been recommended that you actually need to prepare yourself with an underground hovel or an underground home. The reason mainly for this, apart from survival, because with these changes are going to become wind velocities of 300 k's an hour, you know, and that's more than any human head can experience. Like our heads will just blow off our bodies, basically. Apart from that, to survive these changes, it makes so much sense that you are held by the Earth. that you allow and submit yourself to being held and protected by this beautiful earth, because she wants to protect you. Just as she has always protected animals, and whenever there's a fire, what happens? The animals that survive, they go underground. The insects that survive go underground. And in the last big climate change, you know, in Atlantis and Lemuria time, the people who survived went underground. To go underground means some preparation and a lot of faith in your behalf that this has actually happened, because that's a big shift of consciousness, correct? But you know what? Even if none of this actually happened, even if everything that everyone's saying is not true, for you to make the decision onto yourself, to make the choice to go against the mainstream, to stand up for your family and move towards protecting them and preparing for them, you as an entity will become so sovereign. Irrelevant to anything else that's happening, you will become a powerful creator, and you will have done more in that movement than you would have done your whole life. So with the climate changes, that's kind of briefly and roughly what's going on, and they've already started, and they're going to continue starting. They're going to continue and get more and more ferocious as we see hurricanes, tsunamis, massive storms, really big storms, with storms we haven't even witnessed in this time in our lifetimes. Australia so far, guys, if you're listening to me from Australia, you're actually positioned in one of the best countries in the world. Australia's on a very unique plate line. Instead of going down to the South Pole, we're going to move and become one nation with New Zealand again, which is, you know, a gorgeous thought. That movement's going to cause a lot of devastation, though, and we're going to lose a lot of the coastal nation, the coastal region of this territory. But as far as us being a hot climate now, we're going to get a little bit cooler, but we're going to move into a tropical environment. A lot of the countries that are really hot now are going to become tropical again, a lot more rain. So, you know, we're going to see the mythical Garden of Eden return to the Sahara. We're going to see, you know, desert areas become full of life and new species and growth again. And we're going to see places that are cold become hot, and hot that become cold. And there's going to be a big shift in relation to temperatures. And, you know, there's going to be, of course, a lot of problems with the nuclear reactors, because these little crappy reactors that we have positioned us all around the world, which have been giving the Earth a really big stomachache, by the way. You can't explode these things into the ground of your homeland and not expect there to be some sort of response to that eventually. And that's what we've been doing. Well, not us, but that's what has been done. And every single nuclear reactor around the world is going to crack and implode on itself during this change, because it has to, because it's an intolerable experience and none can survive, which is going to poison the water supply dramatically. And of course, with the ice caps melting, we're going to run out of fresh water. Do you know that an ice sheet has just recently broken off that has got enough fresh water in it to supply America for 30 years? I mean, that's the scale of what we're talking about here. It's not small. With the water being poisoned, what you need to do when you reposition yourself, and you need to get out of the cities, because the cities are going to become very dangerous, hey? There's going to be a lot of killing from people who are desperate to survive, you know? We saw how New Orleans played out, and that was just one little tiny place in the whole world, and it played out with rape and crime and violence and murder and really just people struggling to, like, survive here. So, yeah, you need to get out of the cities. I really recommend it. If you're going to stay in the cities, then you need to, you know, get yourself supplies together and get some protection sorted out. But, like, why would you bother staying in the cities, hey? Really? Move to the country, get yourself a little place, grow your own food, get off the grid, because electricity is going to, like, go as the magnetic fields around the Earth flip. It means your electrical items, all of this stuff, what we're doing right now, will not be able to work. They'll just break. So if you've got anything electrical, it's not going to work. So you need to get yourself off the grid, get prepared, grow your food, get self-sufficient, which is the way we should always have been living. And it's the way all these people have been communicating about for so long now. There's been a big shift in the self-sufficient communities and lifestyle. You know, and that's no accident. It's all in alignment with where we are time-wise. So guys, you need to start preparing yourself for these changes.